Today we have a jam-packed show. Ali Ahmed joins us to talk about his season with the Vancouver Whitecaps, the arrival of Thomas Müller, and his aspirations with the Canadian men's national team. We'll also rank the top designated player signings in MLS history. And it's time for Fair or Foul. Did Olivia Smith get snubbed from the Kopa Trophy shortlist? Hey everyone, I'm Andi Petrillo. Welcome to Just Soccer. And it's great to have Vancouver Whitecaps and Canadian men's national team midfielder Ali Ahmed with us. Ali, you're about a week away returning. How does it feel to be back training and just getting your legs under you?
Nothing better than being on the grass. It's been a long 6, 7 weeks in the gym, just riding bikes and treadmills and all that type of stuff, trying to stay fit, but nothing like putting the cleats on and, getting on the field, getting some touches. So very happy to be back on the field right now.
This is a team that's been clicking, still looking good. I mean, the Vancouver Whitecaps are very much in the battle, even for the supporter shield. What's worked for you all season long, do you think?
Yeah, we're doing well. I think, everybody's, been able to be at their best this year. A lot of injuries, a lot of guys going away on international duties, but next man up, I think is the biggest themes for us this year. And as everybody's been, playing their part, and when one man goes down, and another man steps up, it doesn't look like we're missing a beat.
Well, one player who's going to step up is going to be Thomas Müller, who has a very extensive resume and has won just about everything under the sun. Where were you when you found out that deal became official with Vancouver?
What was I?
You were on the treadmill?
I was probably biking somewhere. Yeah, I was. I think maybe I was at home and like realizing like, oh shoot, it's happening. But yeah, it's exciting for everybody here. A big name like him, prominent player, one of the biggest to play the game. Come to the club here. It's a sign of growth from this club, and hopefully more to come. But I think what we're doing this year, he's only gonna help us. Take the next step. With all the trophies and championships he's won in the soccer world, he can bring that over here and hopefully, help us, and lead us to the MLS Cup this year and the Canadian Championship.
I'm not sure if you've already been thinking, like, would there be a first question you have for him? And what would that be?
Nah, maybe not first question. Maybe a selfie.
Yeah. Very smart.
First picture. Nah, no first question. No first question.
Oh, I was gonna say, what's a World Cup after party like? That would be. I want those kind. That's the kind of details I'd be asking. So this will be a big player who's playing with you, but you've played against big players, and obviously, and one you beat was Messi and Inter Miami. What was that like playing against him, and how do you feel now? Also, just with way your career's been going, you're playing against. Now you're going to be playing with big names. I mean, this just it feels. Does it feel right? Like this is exactly how it should be in MLS.
Yeah, of course, playing against, Messi a couple times, beating him helps, like, you not be, how I say, like,
Starstruck.
struck over, yeah, like, moments like these. But yeah, I think still, when you look at, as the soccer fan in you, the young soccer fan in you, it's still, you still have to appreciate, big moments like these happening, and, being a part of it is special. But yeah, for sure, with the way things have been going for me, it's I wouldn't say not the first crazy moment for me, I would say.
Well, and you already have a lot of things under your belt. So, of course, you beat Messi in CONCACAF Champions Cup. And it looks like Thomas Müller will play for Vancouver in the second leg of the Canadian Championship. Keeping fingers crossed as well that you'll be in that game too. How important is it for the four-peat? Toronto FC is the only club in the modern era to win four in a row, the Voyageurs Cup, Vancouver wanting to do that, but that's also your easiest path. You win that, you get into, CONCACAF Champions Cup. But, How much of a goal is that, and what kind of challenge does Forge FC pose?
Yeah, of course it's important. You want to win trophies, at any level, and for me being Canadian too, it's something that's probably a little more important for me than let's say a non-Canadian. But and yeah, Forge is probably one of the biggest and best teams in the CPL and CPL history. The coach there, the team there, been doing well every year. They've been part of CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Hmm.
Uh, they do things well there, and we know it's not going to be an easy challenge. We just played Valor, and that was not easy as well. We know how much this means to Forge and a lot of the CPL teams. You know, another opportunity for them to kind of prove that maybe they are MLS level.
Hmm. Well, the game is going to have a lot of eyeballs on it in a year. We know this. 26 for 26. I know that's kind of the motto here for the Canadian men's national team. I'm wondering if you've had any conversations with Jesse Marsh, what maybe he wants to see from you, just things to work on as you continue this goal of working towards the national team and being able to represent it on the biggest stage, which is the World Cup.
Yeah, here and there, when in camp, you have some talks, of course, with the coaching staff and with Jesse about, areas you can improve in. And, before coming in camps, he keeps in touch, I think, with all his players on uh so yeah, on certain areas he feels like, I could be better in, and that I do well in, and things that I need to just keep an eye on when I'm here still, to keep working on the things that he wants. So when the time of camp comes, don't have to have a head start, and don't have to work when I'm there. So
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you back out on the pitch and best of luck throughout the season with Vancouver. And of course, as you make your way to the 2026 World Cup.
thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
From one impact player to, well, how about another? Amy Walsh, we'll bring her in because we're going to talk about a lot of impact players in designated players in Major League Soccer. Welcome back to the show, Amy. It's always great to have you. And of course, talking with Ali Ahmed, we have to talk, Thomas Müller, and we saw that, officially landed in Vancouver, getting his legs under him, being a part of that team. So it starts to beg the question
Hmm.
of which DP signing made the best impact. And we're going to go down a list of categories. So instead of ranking, DPs like 1 through 5 or anything like that, we're going to rank them based on category. Are you ready for that?
I'm all set.
I love this. So we're going to go with, and I'm going to give the title and give the description. So the DP who was the most successful, which DP shaped their club's identity and took them to a level that they had never reached before?
As much as it pains me as a Montreal area person, I'm from Quebec. I'm going to go with Sebastian Giovinco for Toronto FC. But in the early
Yeah.
days of the DP rule, it was used to lure older players who are at the end of their careers, in their twilights of the careers, to MLS. And but when Giovinco joined Toronto from Juve at 28 years old, this was a game changer. And it proved to be that because statistically he delivered the next year, 2016, 22 goals, 16 assists, en route to MVP honors. And then the next year, the famous treble, leading Toronto to MLS Cup, Supporter Shield, and Canadian Championship. So again, it hurts as an MLS Montreal person, but I think I have to give the most successful to the Atomic Ant.
Yeah, and so I have a feeling we're going to be thinking the same for a lot because I
Mhm.
go with Seba as well on that one. And it's because of what had gone on in the years prior, right? When we talk about achieving something they've never achieved before, Toronto FC had never made the playoffs. Toronto FC had never even really sniffed getting close to an Eastern Conference, never mind even getting to a final. And then, yes, with him in the lineup, and you've got to look at all the other pieces around him, and a Josie Altidore and a Michael Bradley. Like, they had a lot of pieces. But Giovinco was such a star for that team. In fact, when he did not return to Toronto FC, I can confirm, as somebody who would attend games and also had my own season tickets, I
Mhm.
had a lot of Italians around me. They gave up their season tickets when he was not brought back. So that was also the impact he had on the fan base. But Seba all the way. leading them to their first playoffs, leading them to the first Eastern Conference title, leading them to their first ever MLS title, and also, by the way, going to the final of CONCACAF Champions Cup
Right.
in 2018. Brought the most aura. We're going to talk aura farming again. Oh my goodness. The player you just had to watch. Every game felt like an event because they were on the pitch.
When I think aura, I think Zlatan. I think
Oh,
Ibrahimovic. He got off the plane. He jumped straight into El Clasico. Excuse me, not El Clasico, El Trafico, because that's what we call it in MLS. Comes off the bench, scores a brace, and the volley that he scored is arguably one of the best in league history. And he was the singular star on the team where, they didn't really have a lot of talent around him. He left after 2 seasons, 52 goals in 56 matches. So you talk about a prolific scorer, an impact player, and somebody who just brought that swagger, that talent, that aura, whether he was on or off the pitch. It's Zlatan for me for this aura farming. I don't know if I'm using it right. I don't even throw the word aura around, but Zlatan has got it.
maybe this is a bit of recency bias because we're living it right now, but it's got to be Messi. It's
Mm.
Messi mania. I mean, ever since he's joined the league a couple years ago, it has been absolute insane. It's calmed down a little bit, obviously, when it comes to ticket sales being through the roof. I mean, it was so bad. The aura was so grand that if he didn't play in a game, you had MLS clubs offering up not so much refunds, but like, exchanges. We're really sorry he didn't play, so we'll give you like a discount or we'll, move your ticket to another game for next year when he'll be here and all this kind of stuff. Who does that? Like in the world of sport, we know that injury happens. So if your favorite player is not in the lineup, it's too bad, so sad. That's the risk you take. It's really sad, especially if you got a little kid who really wants to see their favorite player. These things happen in sport. But yet his aura was so grand, people wanted to see him so badly that if he wasn't in the lineup, you literally had MLS teams compensating for him, for crying out loud. So for me, the aura DP has to be Lionel Messi. Biggest flop. Who came in with massive hype, even a huge contract, and then
Yep.
totally failed to deliver?
Yeah, the DP kind of name, the category, has kind of been given a bad name, I think, because of the influx of these aging superstars into a league and have failed to deliver. And one of those, unfortunately, and again, this really pains me because I'm a massive Liverpool fan and I think about the 2005 Champions League win for that club, that historic club where they overturned a 3-0 deficit to AC Milan. For me, it's
Oh,
Steven Gerrard. Again, LA Galaxy. Yes, sorry, Andi Petrillo as a AC Milan fan, perhaps, but signed in 2015 after Beckham had departed 2 years prior. He was 35, Stevie G. And again, one of my idols as a center midfielder, but he did not seem interested in the MLS experience. He kept jumping back across the pond to go do TV hits, kept his link with England and that setup and what was happening there. And that sort of chip on his shoulder mentality and how he felt about the league kind of came through in his disappointing performances. So after a team that had come off 3 MLS Cups in 4 years, he just scored 5 goals in his 2 years with the club. And this was seen, I think, overwhelmingly, not only as a blight on his career, but a disappointment for LA Galaxy and MLS.
So I'm gonna go with biggest flop because he had the massive hype, the bloody big deal.
Mm.
Jermaine Defoe. He came on over. This was Tim Lewicki's big splash. He took over, MLSE, he wanted to turn things around for TFC. Again, he was the mastermind behind Bradley, Josie, Seba. But first was the bloody big deal. And nobody paid attention to the other players because it was all about Jermaine Defoe, what he's been able to do in the English Premier League, Scottish League. Like, this guy was coming on over. This was a Spurs player. And he ended up playing 14 games, or 19 games, I should say, excuse me. Scored goals, put up 11 goals, but it was always drama. It was always like he wasn't giving enough. It was always like he didn't care. Like, literally the stories that would come out where he'd be in the middle of practice and then he's like, yeah, I'm just going to go back home to England and would just leave. And I was like, we're training. We have a game this weekend. It was all these things. So the amount of money they spent on him, I think it was like a 4-year deal and he only played in 19 games. And it literally became dubbed the bloody big deal became the bloody big flop. It was literally in the name, so how do I not put him in as the biggest flop as a designated player? Let's go with most influential, the DP whose presence changed the league, inspired other stars to join, or even raised MLS's global profile.
A player who transcended the game long before Messi was David Beckham. So he's the OG. He's the OG designated player. I mean, he makes this list, I think, more for anything that he did on the field, but he added legitimacy, I think, to this league. When he moved from LA Galaxy, from Real Madrid in 2007, and I think he really blazed the trail and made it okay for other, whether they were aging superstars or otherwise, to consider MLS as a landing spot, as a place to ply their trade and not just see out the end of their career and cash in on a big paycheck. So, I mean, I think he changed global perceptions as well of what MLS was, not just in the small world or the echo chamber of players, but it moved from being that quote unquote retirement league to something that was a place to go and play. You could continue to ply your international trade, play for your national team as well. And Beckham, I think, really changed a lot of minds. And obviously the impact is still being felt in what he did, moving to the ownership group of Inter Miami. And that is what led to Lionel Messi coming to MLS many, many years later.
I'm with you. It's David Beckham. It's just David Beckham for me, just because of what we're even able to have this conversation that we're having and having a little bit of fun here with putting DPs in this category because of him. And he started it. And I think it really turned around because it wasn't an easy ride for those of you who don't remember or maybe weren't born yet. It wasn't easy. Like, he came on over to MLS and it was so obvious that he was disappointed in facilities. He was disappointed, just everything with the league. And you could tell, like, was this a mistake? And then remember, he kept going back to Europe. He was being loaned out. And it really took a come to Jesus moment. There was a whole documentary done on it. Even when Landon Donovan turned around, said, enough of this. This is my team. I love it. You're disrespecting it. And finally, when Beckham's like, I'm committed. This is it. I'm coming back. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not focused on being put out on loan. I'm not focused on, World Cups and all this, Euro. Like, I'm here. And next thing you know, LA goes on these incredible runs, right? And starts winning trophies. And that was it. To your point, right? He gave it his all. And it's now opened the door for all of these designated players. So there we go. That was fun. That was fun to go down a little bit of memory lane there with designated players. By the way, even with the biggest flop, even though I said Jermaine Defoe, honorable mention, Lorenzo Insigne. That'll also make you happy.
Yeah.
Those are two TFC players. All right, so let's get into a little game of fair or foul. And let's start with Jonathan David, right? So the list of Ballon d'Or nominees were announced. No Jonathan David. A lot of people expected that. But he is on a more prominent team now. So if he can deliver a strong season for Juventus, is it fair or foul to say he deserves to start being in those conversations?
Absolutely fair. Because I think like many of the Ballon d'Or nominees, I think he'll only enter those conversations, be seen in the same light, even though he is proven and he's being talked about in conversations, one of the best strikers in the world. It's just as much about what you're doing for country as much as it is what you're doing for your club. So can he make the leap like a legend, an iconic figure at Lille? It's time for him to move to a different place. And can he be that same prolific scorer in a tougher league, in Serie A, the way that he was doing in Ligue 1? Can he do it for a team where maybe he's not amassing as many goals on penalties? There are always the detractors and people looking at his goal contributions and trying to pick it apart. So if he can do it at Juve, I think those haters go silent.
And that's the thing in soccer. A lot of people ask me, like, how does this person get ignored or that person get ignored? And we're going to talk about one of those players in just a moment. But in soccer, it does matter the teams you play for, the league in which you play, and then to your point, the international competitions. Yeah. And certain international competitions carry different weight, right? Your World Cup, your Euro, your Gold Cup, your Copa, like those carry weight. So even though he would have knocked it out of the park with Lille, where does Ligue 1 fall when it comes to Premier League and La Liga and Bundesliga, right? Like a lot of that is taken into consideration. But now he's in Serie A and he's with Juventus. So eyeballs alone will be on him because of that. And then to your point, let's also see what Canada can do at next year's World Cup because that all carries weight. Olivia Smith left off the Kopa Trophy shortlist for Best Young Player. So this trophy obviously honors the best young player in the world, judged by football's greatest, all based on performance, so consistency and impact. Fair or foul? Did Olivia get snubbed?
I'm going to say foul. I don't think she got snubbed. I think Olivia Smith is definitely one of the most exciting young talents in the women's game. So not to sound like a broken record, but players are not just judged, Andi, as we just discussed with Jonathan David, on their club performance. So it's clear that she had an extraordinary year at Liverpool and only her second pro season. I already mentioned one of the best talents in the game, but she won both the Senior Young Player awards for her club and nominated for 2 league-wide awards. But it's again, does she have the durability to compete consistently for Canada and be that game changer that we know she can be? But I think in a year where we've discussed this previously, Andi, in our coverage of the women's national team, no major competition for Canada this year. That hurt Olivia Smith's chances at this Young Player Award because you're not getting the eyeballs on Canada the way that you would. And I do think you mentioned the weight of different competitions and the way it's perceived worldwide. The Euros, which has happened for the women. You look at the list of nominees here, it's Copa America players, it's players who are competing at the Euros, like Michelle Adjumang, who I think is probably in with the shout based on how she was a game changer for England on their way to a win. So I think if Olivia Smith, as this record-breaking signing going from Liverpool to Arsenal, if she can have an equally impactful year with them and then marry it with consistency and goal contributions for Canada, she will be on this list, if not next year, but in the very short term.
You know, listen, she's going to be making the short list for these in the future. If there's only one Canadian player I'll ever say I feel in my heart of hearts to this date that's ever been snubbed, it's Christine Sinclair.
Yes.
That is what I will say with absolute definity. Like, no, she was completely snubbed. Do not come at me. I don't have time for you. Before I let you go, we have to get to this viral moment of the week. Cristiano Ronaldo, my friend, has finally proposed to his longtime girlfriend, Georgina. They announced their engagement. She showed her ring on Instagram. I had to put my shades on. The ring, I think, cost between $2 to $5 million. 37 carats. Woo. Ronaldo's salary is fine. He can afford it, whatever. It's like 275 million. But this is crazy lavish. Look at that. But this is what fans want. They are absolutely losing it online. I feel like that's like a mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Like the size of that thing.
It's a disco ball. It's not a mirror. That thing.
I know. I was like, I mean, it's not, she's going to need insurance for her wrist just to make sure it can stay up. My goodness. Anyways, good for them. You know, they share a life, they share children. So that should be a ton of fun. But I just think that anytime you're around her now, you just have to put on the sunglasses. Maybe you have to put a little SPF on because it'll also just like reflect the sun. And it's like instant burning, you know, when you would get the little magnifying glass, poor little ants when you know, on the sidewalk. I feel like that's what if she doesn't like somebody, she's just going to get the reflection of the sun. Put it right on you. And that's it. That's it for us here on Just Soccer this week. Thanks for joining us. That is Amy Walsh. I'm Andi Petrillo. We'll see you next time.